Hello and welcome to The Carbon Circle, a podcast where we bring together sustainable leaders and change makers shaping India's future. Our theme today is Breathing Better, Clean Air Solutions for a Sustainable India. Joining me is Rahul Kapoor, Managing Director of Camfil India with 20 years of experience in leadership roles at Blue Star and Career. Rahul now leads Camfil's mission to bring world-class sustainable clean air solutions to workplaces, schools, hospitals and industries alike across India. Let's dive into the conversation on how clean air connects health, sustainability, and India's growth story. Let's dive in. Rahul, firstly, thank you for joining in. It is pleasure to have you as a guest for this. So, for those of you who are listening into the podcast, today we have yet another interesting topic, which is breathing better. Clean air solutions for a sustainable India, where we are going to talk about from Make in India manufacturing to global standards, delivering clean air as a human right. And in this particular podcast, we will touch upon 4 to 5 broad topics. The first topic is leading with purpose, where we'll get to hear about Rahul, his journey, and how Camfil is envisioning its progress in India. And post that, we will move to the second subtopic, which is policy and accountability, India's national clean air program, and everything beyond that. And the third topic that we are going to talk about is Make in India advantage, local manufacturing, and how it can have a global impact. And the fourth topic is the math of clean air, where we will look at the practical segment of breaking down the economics of clean air. What are the different areas of impact clean air has? And the last topic is enabling verifiable sustainability, which is less spoken about. But I think in the era of greenwashing, it is very important that we talk on that particular topic. So let's kick off with the first one, with this leading with purpose. So this is a segment where we introduce Rahul and his global journey across Asia Pacific, and how he's bringing international expertise to India's clean air movement. So Rahul, you have worked across diverse markets in Asia Pacific. What were some of the biggest contrasts that you observed in how different countries approach air quality, and what lessons have you carried into India?
And a great question, Roshan. Of course, having worked across the diverse markets in Asia Pacific region, it's very contrasting. When we look at, say, Far East countries like Singapore, Australia, that's already have a very, very strong awareness of indoor air quality. It's linked to the health, productivity. And I guess the way these countries have gone about the business, it's not something they do as a purpose. It's something which which is part of the day of their daily life. The regulations are clear. The building standards are very, very strict. Businesses often view good air quality as part of their responsibility for employees and customers. They have a very proactive approach as they went about the problems before they arise. And as contrast, when you look at India, countries like India, part of Southeast Asia, our neighboring countries, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, all of them for that matter, we are still catching up. Here, the conversations around air quality often begins when the problems become visible.
Right.
For example, very soon, Delhi NCR, we'll start talking about, you'll see a lot of news channels bring up the subject of air quality index, the stubble burning, the industrial pollution, vehicle pollution, etc., because these things will become visible. But what are we doing today when we are still 40 days away, from that epidemic to start? I mean, we are doing nothing, possibly. So yes, as I mentioned, we are more reactive in nature versus the countries like Singapore, Australia, which are highly proactive. Another thing is, in these countries, we do not focus too much on employee well-being.
Right.
And employees and the air quality inside the offices, where we spend over 90% of our time, is not given its due importance, at least not now. Another thing which I've learned very importantly while I carried this whole mission from Australia, Singapore to India is that education and awareness are just as critical as technology. In countries where air quality is well managed, it isn't only because of the advanced air filtration systems. Camfil is present everywhere. But it's because stakeholders at every level, from governments to building owners to individuals to employees, they understand why clean air matters and they demand. Where it is not given, they demand for it. In our country, the awareness is very, very low.
Right.
So in India, beyond providing the right solution, it's big part of my mission has been to build the culture of awareness, to make people see clean air as a basic human right and a strategic investment, not as an optional exercise. The other lesson is collaboration. This is a war, not a battle, which can be won single-handedly. We have to have a successful markets, work across government, private sector, civil society. Bringing that collaborative mindset into India is helping accelerate the clean revolution here. Probably is going to be one of the most challenging tasks for me for next few years.
So, Rahul, that you mentioned that there is a contrast between how India views clean air versus how countries like Australia and Singapore views the need and necessity for clean air. But what has allowed you to start this ambitious journey of making a fix here in India? Does it come from your previous experiences, or where has this begun?
No, not really. My previous experiences were very contrasting. Of course, I was still dealing with one of the most critical aspect of human lives, which was food there, to
Uh-huh.
clean air. But this has absolutely nothing to do with what I did last 20 years before I made this jump to this beautiful company, Camfil. But yes, all 20 years before joining Camfil, I was thinking food is probably the most essential ingredient for humans. And whatever I was doing, I was really wonderfully proud of that. When I came in here, I was told some facts, during first week, and those facts were really mind-boggling. I was told, which probably a lot of audience on this podcast would be interesting to know. We breathe in, we eat. A normal human being in a day eats about 1 to 2 kgs of food
Mm-hmm.
as a standard appetite. We drink about 6 to 7, sometimes 8 liters of water. But you will be astonished, Roshan. We breathe about 15 kgs of air every day. So that's the contrast I received as a legacy when I joined here, that as much as food is necessary, air is far, far more critical, because we, both me, you, can probably still survive if we don't eat for a day, maybe two. But imagine if
Yeah.
we don't get air to breathe for next 2 minutes, what will happen?
Right.
And that's how critical clean air is for the human existence.
Absolutely.
So I feel wonderfully proud of what I did in last 20 years with the great organizations like Carrier, Blue Star. But I guess the legacy could not have been, this whole opportunity would not have been better than what I'm doing today, which is for a much larger audience, much larger number of people I can now address by offering the clean air solutions, making sure that this organization's motto of making clean air a basic human right goes long, and I can serve. And I feel extremely, extremely proud of working here to ensure clean
Amazing.
air becomes absolutely a basic human right.
Amazing. I mean, it is really fascinating to know that, and on an average, a human consumes 2 kg of food,
Yeah.
in comparison to 15 kg of air he or she breathes in. And if we just cut that off for a couple of minutes, I mean, we wouldn't be having this conversation anyway.
Yeah, and icing on the cake is, if you've got any adulterant in your food or water,
Hmm.
you pick it up or you see it and you change it, ask for a replacement. But when we breathe, we cannot see whether air is clean or not. We cannot see whether air is clear of all the volatile organic compounds. Does this air has any gas which I am not supposed to inhale? We
Right.
just inhale what we get. There is no second choice.
Right.
So
I mean,
this is even more critical.
there is not an option that we as I mean, something that we cannot see with our
Yeah.
own normal eyes. It is difficult to kind of filtrate that out. Of course, we will be talking about those filtrates and the filters that allows us to breathe better. But Rahul, let me go back to the first question once again. The
Mhm.
contrast that you spoke about, the different countries. One, you correctly pointed out is the lack of awareness that we have here in India about the necessity for clean air. But in the background, I also see this tag that you have written, clean air, human right. Right. But in a country like India, where nearly 1.6 million deaths annually are linked to air pollution, how do you translate that philosophy into an actionable strategy?
Yes, I truly believe clean air is a fundamental right. It's just not the poster behind me, but this is what we live for day in and day out. And this Lancet statistic you mentioned about 1.6 million deaths annually in India linked to air pollution
Hmm.
really underlines that urgency today. The challenge is, how do we move from belief to action? And for me, the first step is awareness. Many people, even including me before I joined this organization, did not realize that air pollution is not just an outdoor problem. Indoor air specifically can be 4 to 5 times worse than the outside. So a big part of my work today, Roshan, has been to engage with businesses, policymakers, and communities to make air quality visible, measurable, and understood.
Hmm.
And the
So,
second step is more to make it more practical and scalable. So at Camfil, we design air filtration systems that not only remove harmful particles and gases, but they also improve the energy efficiency.
right.
Because in countries like India, cost and sustainability are the key factors for any adoption. So if clean air is too expensive, it won't scale. So we've had to innovate around affordability and long-term value.
Hmm.
Third, maybe probably the last but not the least, would be the collaboration. No single company, including us or sector, can solve this. So we have to work very, very closely with hospitals, IT parks, hotels, pharma companies, even data centers and upcoming semiconductor segment to integrate clean air into their core operations. At the same time, we also engage with government bodies and industry forums to push for stronger standards and compliance. Finally, I'd say it's all about shifting the mindset. I honestly never understood, never realized the important facets of clean air, but having understood them now, I strongly feel clean air should not be seen as a luxury or an optional CSR project. It
Right.
really needs to be viewed as a basic requirement like clean water, electricity, Wi-Fi. Once that shift happens, actions will absolutely follow naturally. Imagine an office today, Roshan, small or large. Can we think of an office in India today which can survive a day without Wi-Fi?
Nope.
So how come clean air is not considered as one part of that initiative? That's it, as simple.
Right, right. I mean that it's well put because when we talk about fundamental rights today, Wi-Fi has also become a necessity. But clean air, clean water, good food, these are basic needs, and
Yeah.
these are very fundamental to a healthy lifestyle. And what you mentioned is absolutely correct, and I resonate with it. But the fact that you mentioned that the air quality indoor is much worse than air quality outside. This is something that we do not realize most often. So, can you talk a little more on the difference between indoor air quality and the outdoor air quality? How are they different, and what makes the indoor air quality much worse than the outdoor one?
Sure. Before that, I would like to quote someone who told me when I started meeting, this is a very big consultant in India. And I asked him the same question, why this indoor air quality has never been given that due importance. So he said, Rahul, there was this movie which said roti, kapda और मकान. और काश उसमें उसने बोला होता ना हवा,
Hawa,
रोटी, कपड़ा और मकान.
right?
So shayad the air quality or this air would have gotten its necessary due importance at that point. But it was always about, like you also mentioned, food, the clothes, and the house, residence. That's it.
Yeah,
Air was always considered like a given. कि ये तो free है ना, it's God given. So who can take it away? And absolutely no one can take it away. But how much do we care about it? Is all what we can do. So that was on a lighter note. But yes, to answer your question, a very 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 critical one. Why indoor air quality is very less spoken about, and why is it 4 to 5 times, sometimes even more worse than the outdoor air? And let's start by taking an example of our house, okay, or your house, my house, or an office space. So you enter your house, we assume inside air should be as good as outside. We walk in it with the shoes we wore the whole day. So we carry with us the particles on the shoes. We carry a lot of dust on our clothes. If your house has the carpet, it keeps accumulating those particles. So whenever we clean the carpet, all those particles go into the air. Sometimes, and most of us today in India, we have pets. So we would have the external contamination like here. We'll have external contamination like some of these food particles. It doesn't matter whether it is from the vet or what we eat. We have a lot of substance in our house which causes the dust in the air. And when we say dust, we do not only mean what we see, which is the particles. We mean by dust is something we don't see, we can't smell, but it's there around you. So when we mop our floor in the morning and we use the liquid, even that liquid has formaldehyde, which is part of the volatile organic compounds, which is part of the whole air quality index.
right.
Then we have gases. So in Delhi NCR, if you're living around Noida, there you have a lot of sewerage. And this sewerage emits a lot of gases like sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, ammonia. Now they are also the constituents to the good air quality or bad air quality. And when these get accumulated in the four walls of the house and the doors are shut, air conditioner is on, and we are all sleeping, CO2 levels are going up. These all are the ingredients of what make the indoor air quality worse than the outdoor air quality.
Yeah, yeah.
And
How
it's
about the
never taught.
offices?
Same logic goes to the office. Offices could even get worse because, say, a IT company which employs thousands of employees on a floor or hundreds of employees on a floor and thousands of them in the building, you have thousands of these employees walking into the office wearing shoes, wearing clothes, which may have the contamination of dust, which may have contamination from the pets, which may have, some of them may be smoking, some of them may have come on a bike from a dusty environment. Just think about basic things. Let's not even get into the super critical items, just the basic hazard which any human being carries with it. Enough to make your indoor air quality worse. And then on top of it, when you talk about the large offices which has the central air conditioning system, all these dust particles go accumulate in the ducts which are supposed to supply the clean air. the poor ventilation system, poor exhaust system, bad quality of filters inside the air handling units. All
Right.
these constitute to this indoor air quality getting worse and worse.
Right. Would a better circulation with great filters help with improving the air quality indoors?
Of course, that's
Yeah.
the step one towards making a cleaner air or bringing cleaner air into the office environments or any environment for that matter.
Surely, surely. We'll be talking more on those filters and how it helps with improving on the indoor air quality. But if we were to fast forward a decade, how do you envision Camfil shaping India's workplaces, schools, cities when it comes to air quality, Rahul?
Yeah, as I mentioned, Roshan, this is not the battle we can win alone. It's a war. So
Mm.
whether Chemfil or all my other contemporary organizations working toward the common goal and mission of making the clean air a basic human right, I say we will have to play a very important role. Say, for example, in workplaces, my vision is that clean air will be considered as basic an amenity as a Wi-Fi or electricity. Every office from IT parks to manufacturing hubs will have to have a high efficiency filtration built into design, not added as an afterthought.
Right.
That means healthier, more productive employees and workplaces that attract and retain top talent.
Mm.
One study from World Health Organization clearly states that clean air can bring in more 10 to 12% more efficient manpower into the offices. So
Okay.
it has definitely a great cascading effect on how efficient you and me can be in office if we breathe the clean air.
Right.
In schools, similarly, I see clean air becoming a part of child's right to education.
Mm.
No child should have to learn in a polluted classroom. So by say 2035, I'd like to see every school in India, urban or rural, equipped with affordable air quality solutions so that next generation grows up with stronger lungs and clearer minds.
Mm.
At the city level, Roshan, we have to imagine smarter infrastructure where air quality data is integrated into urban planning. Metro stations, airports, public buildings could all use our solutions to create clean air zones and protect millions of people every day.
Right.
And with the rise of the smarter cities in India, filtration would be as much as about health as it is about sustainability and energy efficiency.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the bigger picture I want Camfil to be seen not just as a filter company, but as a partner in nation building,
Mm.
making India's growth healthier, more sustainable, and more human centric. And this human touch in our country has always been missing because we are 1.4 billion plus population, 1 to 100,000 people
Right.
dying for because of the air pollution does not count into the list of critical things to be done. So this human centric approach has to become a part of our system. So it will involve a lot bigger paradigm shift to for air clean air to be looked out as one of the options to
Mm.
something which is absolutely non-negotiable.
Yeah, yeah. I think what you mention is I resonate again once again with it. By 20, I mean when we talk about smart cities today, at least the best part about is we right now get live feed of the AQI, the air quality index. So that's a positive that I see in few cities at least today. When you walk around, you get that on your cell phone as well. What is the AQI? How bad or good the quality of the air is. But the point that you made that this has to be implemented even in schools, offices, colleges, everywhere, where the conscious effort of making it human centric, right? The decisions that we make has to be about not just about economics but also the human life itself. That has to come, and somewhere I feel, Rahul, that it has not kind of bought into us because we are so focused on improving our GDP, improving our income, that the human health has taken a backseat. So can you give me a likely costing, or what does it cost? What does it cost if we don't take care of our air quality?
A lot, a lot. I mean, there cannot be one answer to this, Roshan. Think about old age mother in our family, or a grandmother or a grandfather. I mean, our body parts they go slow as we age.
Hmm.
So we need better and better air. There is no doubt about that. Imagine a grandmother or mother, or even us. We are growing old. We are not growing any younger. And as our body ages, it demands a better air, cleaner air. So when we sleep at night, at least, we can rest our body parts.
Body.
Most critical ones, the lungs, the heart, the mind. And if you go to in the past and think about it, we were always told early to bed, early to rise make a person wise, right? Now, this early to bed and early to rise concept came in or was in existence because when saints slept at night, they really breathe clean air. So when they were sleeping, it was not only physically they were sleeping, but they were holistically sleeping. All the body parts were on at rest. Today, when you and me sleep, our breathing or sleeping heart rate is so different from how they used to, what it used to be when they used to sleep. Because when they slept in the outside air was so clean. So the
Correct.
lungs got the rest, heart got the rest, mind got the rest. So when they get up, they never needed any alarm to wake them up. That 6 hours or 7 hours of sleep was quality sleep, which what this is what they needed.
Right.
And look at us today. We find it so hard to get up with alarm clocks. And even if we get up, and if you're living in cities like Delhi and Mumbai, you don't feel fresh enough. You still feel that you can still sleep for 2 more hours. So yeah, I mean that's the impact of a clean air on a human body.
Yeah. So there is definitely a cost that it has on the human health.
Of course,
But
and I'm
let's
not even getting into the technicalities of energy, etc., etc. We'll probably speak about that later.
later. Yeah.
But for me, I mean, it starts from a basic human thing.
Correct. Correct. I mean, let's further break down and get into the fundamentals, right?
Okay.
When we talk about sustainability today, there is a lot of confusion when people talk about global warming, when they talk about air pollution. That there seems to be a mix-up of both. That they see everything is adding to air pollution. For example, when I sometimes talk to people, they confuse CO2 as a air pollutant, while CO2 is not a air pollutant, but carbon monoxide is a air
Yeah.
pollutant. So if you were, I mean, since you're an expert in this space, can you define what air pollution is, one, and for us to have a healthy lifestyle, specifically speaking about clean air as a necessity, what are the few KPIs or markers that one has to be aware of? What are the minimal aspect they need to be aware of to understand if the air that they're breathing is quality air, yes or no?
Okay, great place to start. Let's start with the fundamentals. So probably I'll be giving a very simple answer to this critical question, so we get as much as attention we can without making it too tough for to understand. So air pollution, simply put, is say the presence of harmful substances in the air we breathe. As simple. Now these substances can be solid particles, liquid droplets, or gases. And they come from sources like vehicle emissions, industrial processes, burning of fossil fuels, construction dust, or even natural events like wildfires. Now, the danger is that many of these pollutants are invisible, but they have a very severe impact on all three: health, climate, and the overall quality of life. When we are talking about measuring or tracking air quality, we rely on certain key performance indicators or KPIs, as you mentioned. Now, first and foremost, there is something called as PM 2.5 and PM 10, which you can also see on a weather app.
Right.
Now, PM stands for particulate matter. And these are particulate matter smaller than 2.5 microns in size and 10 microns, which cannot be seen from the naked eye. PM 2.5 and lesser are even especially dangerous because it can penetrate deep into lungs and even enter the bloodstream. The second is the gaseous pollutants. Now, these are the gases like you mentioned: nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, ozone, carbon monoxide. Now, each of these can cause respiratory and cardiovascular issues. And third, which is the easiest and most heard of in this world today, is something called as air quality index, AQI. Now, this is the composite score that combines levels of different pollutants into single, easy to understand number or color code, from say good to hazardous. Then comes something called as indoor KPIs, which we work upon a lot, which is beyond the outdoor pollution. This is for buildings. We also track their CO2 levels. And why CO2 becomes important, specifically in closed door offices, is because when we inhale or when we breathe, we are not supposed to breathe in more than certain amount of CO2. It's supposed to be more of an oxygen.
Right.
So we measure CO2 levels, we measure humidity, and we also measure something called as VOC, volatile organic compounds, because these affect the comfort. Because it's too humid, you will feel sweaty. If it is too dry, you will feel itchy. Productivity and the health indoors. So when we use air quality when we say air quality is healthy, it usually means that PM 2.5 and 10 are well below permissible limits. In short, if I have to say, kind of put this all in 2 lines, air pollution says about harmful particles and gases, and the KPIs like PM levels, gases, CO2, AQI are the benchmarks we use to judge whether the air we breathe is safe or dangerous.
Right. So, I mean, the follow-up to that as a question, there are certain standards that the World Health Organization has set that if it is a PM 2.5 that you're tracking, what is the permissible levels. So can you give some markers, like what are the likely markers that WHO has prescribed, and what are the levels that India is following?
No, there is no one level India is following. WHO, as you mentioned, definitely has put certain brackets on all sizes: particle size 10, particle size 2.5, particle size 1. Unfortunately, in country like ours, which is huge, where we have multiple states, cities, very diverse air quality. Some south of India and west of India has a lot of water bodies. North, we have nothing. It's not. There's no one answer to this. But just to tell you, India is at least 5 to 50 times out of WHO limits of clean air.
Yeah.
And when we will, I really hope with such a great weather we've had this time around around Delhi NCR and the whole of North region, where we have had far more rains than we ever had. I'm assuming we will still be out of WHO limits after the Pavli, but I'm assuming and hoping it should not go as bad as it has been last few years.
Yeah.
But we are significantly out. I cannot put a number to this. I don't feel I'm not very comfortable. But yes, we are very, very way out of the league. Way out of the league.
Yeah, this is definitely something that we have to fix, and this fix can only happen through policies. So this was my segue to this next topic that we're going to talk about, which is policies, right?
Okay.
So Rahul, I mean, since the National Clean Air Program was launched in 2019, the objective was pretty clear, to improve the air quality of India. But since then, what is the current status of its particulate reduction targets? How have the goals evolved ever since? Do you see it evolving currently, or do you think not enough is being done?
To say the National Clean Air Program, or NCAP, was India's flagship initiative, first of all, to tackle the air pollution in a systematic way. You're right, it was launched in 19, and it sets a national target of reducing particulate matter, PM 2.510, by say 20 to 30%. And when this was decided, or this whole mission was incorporated in 2019, it had set the benchmark of 2024. But then when India framed the air pollution, not just an environmental issue, but as a public health and development challenge, we never envisaged or counted in this COVID period. So now this whole mission has been extended to 2026. To give you a simple answer, yes, this mission has definitely played its part, because the air quality has become visible, and it has become it's come to the people's attention. What it has failed to do is to still bring in awareness in everyone, or in at least in a public forum, that what is still not being done. So just to give you some examples, or I mean, let's deep dive into this whole program. So this program focuses on the non-attainment cities. Now, what are those cities? These are the cities which consistently fall or fail to meet the national ambient air quality standards. For each of these cities, specific action plan was created, covering measures like, say, controlling the vehicular emissions, dust management, industrial pollution, waste burning, and strengthening the monitoring infrastructure. Now, government spent huge amount of money in strengthening monitoring infrastructure. And then came something called as PRANA, which stands for Portal for Regulation of Air Pollution in Non-Attainment Cities, which was primarily the digital backbone for NCAP program.
Right.
Now, it was supposed to track the action plan for all 130 plus cities, which were considered under the first phase of the non-attainment cities, where the pollution levels were much higher than the regulatory norms. It was supposed to provide the transparency on what measures are being taken, allows periodic progress of reviews by the Ministry of Environment, Forest, and the Climate Change. And importantly, it was supposed to bring the accountability by making the data publicly available. Now, significance was twofold. Number one, NCAP was to give India a long-term nationwide strategy. PRANA was to ensure it isn't just a paper plan. It creates a transparency, public pressure, and the data-driven way to measure progress. So in short, it was more of a planned, measurable, participatory approach to improve India's air quality. But the benchmark, the problem where we got stuck was the benchmark was too low. We had set a benchmark of improvement versus 2017 air quality measures, which was probably not as worst as it is today. We failed to discount in the COVID era, and what happened immediately after COVID, when everything boomed exponentially. So this is where we stand. At least in India, we can say we have a couple of programs wherein the clean air has been spoken about, and it has become part of the policy making today. Where we have failed is in actual implementation to the core.
Right. So clearly the flagship program NCAP has not been as successful as we envisioned it to be. But I mean, as we stand today, where we are closing in on 2026, How close have we come to closing that gap, or meeting that criteria of 30% reduction in the PM matter?
Okay, so primarily when NCAP was launched in 2019, the target was to reduce the particulate matter concentrations by 20 to 30% by 2024,
Yeah.
using 2017 levels as a baseline.
Right.
But then in 2022, there was a revision. This target was raised. So the particulate pollution reduction goal was increased to 40% by 2026, relative again to 2017.
Yeah.
Now, there's a good side to it. Along with raising the overall target, individual cities were assigned more granular annual reduction targets as a part of the Clean Air Action Plan. So the good part or the positive signs is many cities have shown reduction in PM10 levels compared to 17. For example, a recent report out of 130 non-attainment cities, 103 had improved particulate matter 10 levels in 2024-25 compared to 17-18.
Okay.
Of those, 64 achieved over 20% reduction, which
That's good.
means they met the original target they set up. About 25 cities have now reduced it by 40%, which was the revised target set up in 2022. And yes, the challenges probably which are that even among the cities which have achieved the reductions, many still have particulate matter concentrations above the national ambient air quality standards. Forget WHO.
Yeah.
Even the national ambient air quality standards, even after 40% reduction, we are a lot higher than that. So there is enough, I would say there is a lot we have done, not enough to still be into that brackets of where we can say that air is equal or better than the national standards.
Yeah.
Some cities have not improved or have even seen increased amount of particulate matter. For example, 29 of those 97 NCAP sites with sufficient monitoring data recorded increase in particulate matter 10 size.
That's a sad reality, but it is. We also had a workshop around air pollution sometime in the past, and there is a Swiss organization which puts out the ranking of each country when it comes to air quality index, and India clearly ranks way low in that entire chart. And among the top 10 cities that is listed, I think around 9 were from India itself when it came to the bad air quality index. So clearly, not enough is being done in this direction. And even with recalibrating the targets, we are nowhere close to the WHO standards. But even by India standards, we were not reaching that levels what we are supposed to be reaching. So my question to you, I think you answered somewhere about this, that what are the sources of this PM matter, the particulate matter 10 or 2.5? What are the areas or sources where this pollutants are released to the air? So could you throw some light on the different sources of air pollutants?
As I mentioned, industrial pollution, vehicle pollution, pollution arising as a byproduct of a lot of what we produce, and then there's another side to pollution, which are the gases, as we mentioned before, which is not even touched upon so far. None of the programs have started covering the volatile organic compounds or these 5 gases: sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, carbon, ammonia, and sulfur dioxide so far. Now, these are the gases which are emitted in the atmosphere as a byproduct of a lot of industrial processes we follow. So as we speak about particle size 10 or even 2.5 or 5 microns, we forget that there is an equally bigger risk we have in hand today, which are the gases. And with the kind of involvement India is seeing, or surge in data centers, surge in semiconductors, surge in the pharmaceutical production, none of these gases are beneficial to the manufacturing environment of these 3 critical components.
Right.
And as the Prime Minister has clearly advocated and had said that new India is going to be all about manufacturing, not only for our domestic consumption, but also for exports. So yeah, we today fall short by a lot when we talk about the clean air as a whole, not only on a particulate matter side, but also looking at the gaseous components. So we have a lot to do, but good thing is at least we have the solutions in hand.
Yeah.
So it's all about, as we said, first monitoring, awareness, and then collaborative approach to make this as a part of program, not something as an option.
Right. The reason I asked you this question is, we very clearly today understand that some of the sources, one is transportation sector, of course, the burning of diesel, gasoline, this adds to the problem. The manufacturing sites where there is pollutants being emitted to the air. Then less spoken, the harmful gases, the volatile compounds that are not tracked as often today. But the one other area that I wanted, I would like you to throw some light is a construction sites. right? So today, India is seeing a lot of infrastructure development, roads being built, new high-rise towers being built within the city limits.
Yeah.
A lot of constructions happening around us. I mean, today, if we visit any metropolitan city, there are a lot of cranes hanging on top, right? So can you throw some light on this? That what are the kind of impacts this construction sites would have on the air quality, and is there any policies or norms that are set by pollution control board, or somebody who restrict this air pollution being emitted into the air?
Great question, Roshan, and I'm happy to tell that at least what I've learned, what I've seen in Delhi NCR, in Bombay, in Bangalore, say one of the top three Indian countries where a lot of this construction work is happening. I guess my best guess is at least this is one area where we have done quite a lot, and we have also seen a great acceptance from the builders to accept what pollution board or municipalities have incorporated, and there is a reason to that. The best time for construction in India is typically a period between, say, September and March.
Hmm.
Now, when you look at the environment, unfortunately, this is very contradictory that this is the time when we have the worst air quality in the atmosphere. So, what the Supreme Court says or what the government says, immediately stop the construction works. I have been very fortunate to work alongside some of the large builders in India today and some of the great local companies. And I'm super pleased to see amount of progress they have made. They have absolutely made sure that on their construction sites, they follow every government norm, or say most of it, what they can do, both in terms of what can be seen physically and inspected.
Yeah.
As simple as washing of wheels of these transport vehicle carriers, which carry the sand and the cement to the construction site, both in and out.
Mm-hmm.
That all these wheels must be washed before they move out of a construction site.
Oh,
So they don't carry the dust and the
that's
mud.
along.
And this is just one of it. And there are thousand things, what pollution board has said, what municipalities have said, what the building codes have said, which these builders are following up. So I can say that yes, there has been a great improvement, but there's always a way to improve further. But yes, they have definitely come a long way from where they were a few years back.
Yeah, that's a good sign. So my next question is a continuation of the same. So clearly, India has a problem to address, which is tackling the air pollution problem, perhaps which is one of the most pressing ones, which is taking so many lives annually. So the problem definitely exists, and the solution, as you clearly stated, that also exists because the technology today is available, and I believe India has the know-how, the technical expertise to implement that, right? So let's bring our attention now to the Make in India advantage that we today have, and as you rightly mentioned, Prime Minister has been pushing for Make in India both for domestic consumption as well as for exports. So my question to you is this: which application segments are seeing the fastest adaptation when it comes to setting up this solutions for better clean air, both indoor and outdoor?
Okay, so let's talk about indoor first because that's that's the most low hanging fruit. So that's where we work a lot more. The segments you asked me are which are the critical drivers today. First, pharmaceutical, because of the GMP, Annex 1, stability expectations, regulatory audits, continuous manufacturing, and high cost of a batch loss.
Okay.
And what we sell here are a lot of very specific high-end products, leak, testable housings, pressure drop, stability. We do a lot of integrated testing here. So pharma. Second is hospitals, healthcares, because this is where post-COVID indoor air quality norms pitched in. So you have to have an infection control. You've got to have NABA, JCI accreditation, isolation, operation theater pressurization, and there's a public perception. So yes, hospitals. And then third most kicking up space is called data centers, where it's not about the people but the processes and the equipment which we need to take care of. And as I mentioned before, these equipment are highly susceptible to the bad indoor air quality. And when I say bad indoor air quality, I mean both the particulate matter and the volatile organic compounds or the gases in the air. Fourth is, of course, our industrial process segment, specifically say cement, metal, food and beverage, chemical, electronics industry. Now, why is this critical? Because here you've got a great amount of ESG reporting, order management, complaint management, product yield and quality, worker safety, everything which is in here.
Yeah.
And then you've got hotels, which have become more and more susceptible. We had this not long ago, a podcast with one of India's great financial institutions co-founder, where the guest walked out of a podcast, middle of it, because his eyes started swelling. He felt itching because of the bad air quality.
Yeah.
So hotels have become more and more, accustomed to such requests. So they've started changing filters. They've started adapting new technology to ensure that they provide their not only the global guests, but they're all domestic guests, the best air quality possible. So hotels and the new risers in this whole chain are now the commercial real estates. So more and more of high net worth individual and the I should not say economical apartments, but more of a high cost apartments.
Yeah.
The semiconductors. Now these are the risers to watch in next few years, where we are seeing a lot of technology advancement happening and a lot of demand coming our way for the filters.
That is really like a bulb moment, and because this pharma chemical sectors are very clearly in requirement for this, because they have to maintain the indoor air quality, so that the quality of the products they are putting out is meeting those quality standards. But when you talk about ESG, which is today becoming a thing, and which is forcing companies, industries to consider air quality as one of their key criteria to report on their ESG reports. That's also pushing for the companies or decision makers to consider installing or implementing these clean air solutions within the manufacturing unit or perhaps their office spaces. So that's a positive sign, right? But for the decision makers also, one other key parameters is a cost part, right? Everything has to break even. The ROI has to be there, and it has to be an economical decision as well. So my next question is related to that. That if you had to present the clean air equation to a chief financial officer, what would be the three numbers or matrices that you would put on the table that will make him or her to take a better informed decision?
Okay, this is interesting. We don't do that too often these days. Okay, so three things if I have to put to a CFO would be, first thing first, 70 to 80%. Okay, that's the share of a filter's total life cycle cost that comes from the energy consumption.
Right.
Okay, so a filter costing say 100 rupees or $100 over a life cycle cost. The 80% of that comes from the energy consumption, not from the purchase price of the filter. So choosing a right filter with the lower delta P saves electricity and shrinks carbon emissions, because every wattage or watt of power saved is equal to the carbon emission saved. And is equal to the number of rupees saved on it. So 70 to 80%. And because I'm talking to CFO, I'm talking numbers. Second would be 90%. Now, what could be this 90% is the proportion of companies' operating cost tied up in people's salaries and benefits. Now, say even a 0.5 to 1% gain in the productivity or fewer sick days from better indoor air quality outweighs the entire filtration budget. Okay. And you ask me three. So third would be say 20 to 30%. So which is what? The 30% would be the life cycle extension when you get the right filters to protect your environment. Fewer replacements means lower operational expenses, reduced waste, and predictable AMC cost. So this would be my three-point pitch to any CFO listening here on the podcast, or if I'm called for a commercial negotiation, that we do quite a lot. I mean, it's one of the most, I can't say the thankless job, but it's one of the most unrecognized job we do, wherein we can do a lot with the how facilities run, how facilities spent, and how facilities are taken care of if the filters are chosen wisely.
Yeah. So three aspects. One is better efficiency, that is saving on your electricity bills with better filters. Two is better health equals more presence of employees, so there is less downtime, and you would also save on your insurance premiums as well, right? And the third one is, of course, the improved air quality would add to the productivity overall. So clear signs that it is definitely there. But one other thing that today companies are also targeting is branding or positioning themselves as a sustainable alternative that is today available in the market, and to which there is today this concept of green buildings. Right, where key aspects of ventilation, indoor air quality, lighting, energy efficiency, all of these things are taken into consideration. And within the space, there is also a lot of greenwashing happening as well. That is a reality today. So we'll move to the next segment of the conversation, which is enabling verifiable sustainability. that is, how do we quantify sustainability? Because it is extremely important that we today talk about verifying anything that we talk about sustainability, right? Anything that you cannot measure, you cannot improve. This is something that we follow at Carbon Bundle. So in this segment, we will talk about why things like LCS, which is life cycle assessments, EPDs, are becoming crucial for in making filtration and air quality index choices transparent and accountable, right? So my first question in this segment is, sustainability claims are often met with skepticism. So how do you or how do tools like life cycle assessment or environmental product declarations like EPDs make Camfil solutions more credible in the eyes of regulators and customers? I mean, I also went through your sustainability report, a 5-page presentation that was there, and there was a clear mention of LCS and EPDs that you guys have taken up on. So how is it helping you in your business operations today?
Thank you for, first of all, going through the sustainability report. It's one of the most boring documents to go through unless you are really keen to look into it.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Roshan. And that's a very, very big challenge we have. And as you mentioned, we also say that sustainability claims will all sound like a marketing gimmick unless it's backed by a real hard data.
Right.
So the tools like life cycle cost and environmental product declarations make a big difference for us as Camfil. So first thing, let's talk about the life cycle cost, and that is what gives you the full picture. Or it will tell you, talk to you about the raw material extraction to manufacturing, packaging, transportation, use phase, all the way to the end of life of the product. They calculate the carbon footprint, energy use, waste across the entire life cycle of a filter. This is a science-based, ISO standardized methodology, not any guesswork.
Right.
And EPDs are public, third-party verified documents that summarizes those LCA results. I mean, simply put, think of them as a nutritional label for a filter, but instead of calories and fat, you see the climate impact, resource use, and emissions. And because they are independently verified and published, customers and regulators can actually trust them.
Yeah.
So the credibility of any sustainability report or claim comes from three things. First, transparency. Can you, as my customer, see the number? And like you mentioned, it's there on the website, which means you see the numbers, it's just not the claim. Second is the comparability, which means an EPD allows you to compare one product's footprint to the another's in a standardized way. So you have an apple-to-apple comparison. And third is the compliance. So EPD aligns with the green building certifications like LEED, IGBC, WELL, and they directly fit into the ESG reporting frameworks. So then you don't have to ask me again and again, etc., etc. Once you go for it, you know for sure that you've got all the ends covered. So right. That's how critical. And for Camfil, this means, we can get into a conversation with a hospital, with a data center, or a regulator and say, hey, here is the verified environmental impact of this filter, and here is how it performs over its life cycle, and here's how it contributes to your sustainability goals.
Yeah.
So that's a shift from a dialogue from marketing to a measurable impact, which really builds a real trust.
Absolutely. So today, if I may ask, Rahul, how many products do you have in the Camfil's product portfolio? How many numbers are we talking about?
Honestly, I may not be in a position to give you the exact numbers on the podcast, but I can simply put, we have the entire range on the general ventilation filters and some specific ones which have now gone under this EPD program. And there's not one program we work with. There are multiple layers and multiple programs. So we are one of the first companies in India today who got ourselves the BIS accreditation.
Okay.
We are on the BIS website in India. We are one of the few companies in India who got Eurovent certificate for energy labeling and sustainable products. We are on the EPD. So it's not one way approach. We are accepting, or we are working on the universal approach, which makes us the right fit for every country or geography we are operating in.
That's good to learn that companies like Camfil are today taking up this as much more important and serious. Given that there is also a clear demand right now coming from the customer and also to quantify the sustainability performance, and it is great. It is also great to learn that Camfil is taking this up. But as a way of closing this entire conversation, my last question is this: Make in India a clear win for Camfil. I think India holds. Today, I wouldn't say it is an alternate to China, but somewhere we can be that. That's one. We do have the necessary skill sets. The technology also exists, and maybe the ecosystem is right now being developed for that. That's one. And two, you have also clearly spoken about collaborations, right? Collaboration is a way forward if we are to tackle this problem of air pollution. Now, my last question is, how do you envision partnerships with the organizations like us as Carbon Bundle, which can help Camfil accelerate verifiable sustainability in India, particularly embedding LCA or EPDs into city and corporate clean air projects?
Thank you for engaging conversation. We've covered a lot of ground today in a very little time that we spent, from fundamentals of air pollution, why clean air is a basic human right, to the role of smarter filter choices in cutting both cost and carbon, and how India's journey of the National Clean Air Program is shaping the future of our cities.
Yeah.
And as we spoke about the partnership, I guess Camfil is reframing the whole indoor air quality not as a cost center, but as a strategic investment in both health and productivity. And of course, our life cycle cost assessments, environmental product declarations are giving our solutions that credibility and the measurable impact. So looking ahead, of course, we envision India not just as a market, but as a hub of innovation and exports for clean air solutions. And by working with partners like Carbon Bundle, I'm very, very sure we're going to create a lot of good products and services which world will adopt. And if there's one takeaway I'd like to leave our listeners with, the clean air is not optional. It's the foundation of a healthy building, strong community, and sustainable business.
Yeah.
And with the right awareness, technology, collaboration, we can definitely make the clean air revolution real in India and beyond.
For sure.
And for those, Roshan, through your medium, those who'd like to continue this conversation, or those of listeners who would like to connect with me and the Camfil India team, we are always happy to share insights. We are happy to invite your listeners to our factory to see how we do things, what we do, explore partnerships, simply help you understand how clean air can make a difference to your organization. You can find us on camfilindia.com or connect with me on LinkedIn. It's Rahul Kapoor. And thank you once again, Roshan, for inviting me. It was wonderful to be with you today. Thank you once again. And I'll close by saying that clean air is and must be accessible to everyone. It's a basic human right.
For sure, absolutely. I think thank you, Rahul, for patiently answering all my questions. Like you rightly said, we have covered a lot of area today. For somebody who listens to the entire podcast, it is maybe like a 101 masterclass on air pollution. What are the solutions today out there? What are the policies that is happening? Or at least if not a masterclass, it could also, it can act as a foundation for taking up interest in this specific area. But Rahul, thank you so much. We would definitely be reaching out to you for any collaborations or work that we could do for Camfil. So I'll be definitely sending out an email. But on a Saturday, you have taken out close to 2 hours of your time. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I genuinely wish Camfil the very best. Given that you have the right tech. The need is definitely there in India, and India has a lot of ground to cover for it to reach a point where we can very confidently say that we in India breathe very clean air, right? So there is a lot of opportunity that is definitely there. So looking forward to all the lovely work that you and your team would be doing. So thank you so much, Rahul.